Hi there. Welcome to the Own Your Expertise interview series. I'm Emily Crookston, owner and decider of all things at the Pocket PhD. I'm the ghostwriter for Rebels, Renegades, and Mavericks, and I love helping experts with big ideas get those ideas out of their heads and into the hands of their fans. Today, I'm sitting down with Nancy Hess. She's the founder of NJ Hess Associates. Nancy's tagline, which I really love, is pioneering extraordinary change. So Nancy is here. She's going to talk to us a little bit today about how she's a pioneer for extraordinary change. Nancy, I'd love to have you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you work with and what you do.
Thank you so much, Emily. And I really enjoy the opportunity to talk about this subject. It's one that I have struggled with through my career. I think many do. But I will share with you that when I began my consulting practice, which was decades ago, it was because I was working in a traditional consulting world. And there's a lot of pressure to build. It was basically get out there, do the work, and move on to the next project. And I had really decided I wanted to have more longer-term relationships with my clients. I had sort of a different approach to the idea of consulting. And that was an original idea I didn't realize had so many legs. I just knew I couldn't work for anybody and I had to do it my own way. And then there was this other piece, which I, over these years, have come to develop, which was really helping organizations with change and specifically transformative change, really designing and building HR systems from the ground up. But so that's my background. And
wonderful. Very good. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, how have you learned to translate your expertise for others?
I've learned this in different ways, but I used the example in the writing. One of my career examples was being fairly young, and I bid on a project for a very distinguished municipality. I would really have to go in and use some context about, here's what I see, in the organization, and here's some examples of another organization I've worked with. Does this sound like you? And if I could generate interest and enthusiasm around that sort of conversation, and I could see that people were very interested to say, oh my goodness, that's exactly what happens here. Can we talk about that? Mm-hmm. I could get further. In fact, I could pretty much do anything I wanted with that team, but I had to drop the lingo. I had to leave the classroom behind. I had some clients say, well, you're a little bit too much like a professor. Mm-hmm. And I just learned that to be a practitioner, to really be in the organizations as a practitioner, you have to really be in their world and not try to be outside that world.
I love that. So it's really about getting in there and getting your hands dirty as a consultant, rather than here's the way to do it. Here's the way I've done it in all these other organizations. Here's what's going to work. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one time a consultant, she's partnered on a project, and she stepped back, she said, wow, she says, you really get in there and roll around in the mud with them, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
awesome. Yeah.
It's not the model that everyone.
That's great. And when you go into an organization, do you have a sort of plan of attack that's pretty loose, or do you just kind of first get in and figure out what's going on before you come up with a plan?
Yeah, well, there are some aspects of traditional consulting that are very important, and that is just gathering sort of data. But I do it in a very conversational style, and I am always sort of in my mind designing the engagement. I do that somewhat in the proposal because I know something has worked before. So here's the methodology that I intend to use. But while I'm in there, in terms of who we bring to the conversations or the design of the work that we're going to do is always in my mind. So the structure is sort of foremost. I know that if you're going to get in there and do some work that's going to make people uncomfortable, and you want them to be, feel a sense of being a part of the process, you want to invite people into the process, you have to be able to explain to them, how it's going to work, what the structure is going to be, something of the process that gives them some level of trust around you. So
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. I really appreciate it. Will you tell us a little bit about where we can learn more about you, your website information or LinkedIn profile?
Sure. Um, my website is njhessassociates.com. I'm on LinkedIn a little. I'm working on being on
That's
there
right. You're
more.
putting your toes in the water. Dipping.
Yeah, I have a Twitter account, Nancy J. Hess. Those are the two areas where you can really find me on social media, and hopefully there'll be some more. Uh,
That's great. That's great. I'll put those into the show notes and things like that so that people can click and find you really easily. I really appreciate your time. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you, Emily, for this invitation. It was great.